Hey guys, it's Brandon again, and this is for week 3 of the video recording series for English 300. So, I finished the third reading about last week, around Friday, and it was pretty eventful. I have a list here that I'm gonna go through and talk about. So, here's the first one: is at the very beginning of the second of the third reading. There is Leonard's story, which talks about how he was raised by his original parents, and then they were killed, and he was an orphan for a little while, and then after that, he found this guy named Michelangelo, which he eventually became his new dad, and he had his mom with Michelangelo also, and that was nice. And well, like that was it really explained a lot of how Leonard got into the business he is currently in, and explained like how he got there and everything. And I thought this was pretty significant because it keeps James from actually thinking about leaving the clinic anymore. He realizes Leonard's struggle, and it helps him to hold on. Actually, that's what Leonard says, is that you have to hold on. So and I also want to talk about Roy and how he came back. Um, so some of you might think that Roy he had a relapse, but he actually has, and they discuss it in the book, multiple personality disorder, and he was taken to a psychiatric ward, and all this and that, and Lincoln says that it's gonna take him a while to actually get better from that, and he says that he has 5 or 6 personalities, which is pretty amazing. And so I'm kind of glad, because I really did not like Roy at all. I knew something was a little off about him. He was too nice, and he was off. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. Um, and I also want to talk about Lily and James, and how they've been talking for a little while, and even though they're not supposed to, and they've been meeting up in the forest. Um, Turns out Leonard knows about it, and he also says that some of the people at the clinic have an idea about it, and he tells James just to watch his back. When I first was reading about Lily and James, I thought, oh, that's kind of nice, but then when they started talking, it made me wonder about is this really gonna affect their stay at the clinic, or is this just adding a new element into the book? And the one thing that was probably the saddest thing in the third reading was James spending time with his parents. Ken invited James into his office and told him that his parents are coming up for the family is a family therapeutic session, I think. Yeah, a family therapeutic session. That was a very um James walks into a room and his parents are sitting down there, and with Joanne, and James pretty much tells his parents his whole story about how he started drugs and everything, and it's very sad. It almost made me want to close the book because of how sad it was, and how real James as an author can make those emotions seem so real at the time. Even though you're reading it from a book, is definitely the saddest part in that reading section. The third is, there's also Miles, and how he was in his room all day, in James and his room, sobbing, And I later come to find out that Miles was crying. Well, he confesses to James that he's crying because of his shame, and he tells James his story about how he got to be there. I won't spoil any more of that. But Miles is a very interesting character because on the one hand he's a judge, but he also has a severe weakness and addiction to alcohol, which like any other kind of job, like alcohol always interferes with your life when consumed too much. And yeah, that's Miles is he talks about how his wife wants him to be there, and this is like his last chance kind of thing to figure himself out. Which I'm surprised. You would think a judge, he wouldn't get very many chances, especially one that has an alcohol problem. And then I also want to talk about the last thing I read about in the reading section was James going to jail. So he has, I'm sure you guys know he has all these crimes he's done. As he always says he's a criminal, a drug addict, and an alcoholic. But he sits down with his parents and his attorney, and they talk about his his crimes. And I'm pretty sure it's Michigan. Michigan, they have no problem with them. Like since he's going into his clinic and trying to change himself, his attorney, sealed that deal. But the bad news was about Ohio and how Ohio wants to make an example out of him, and they don't care that he is at the clinic or wherever he is. They just want him. They just want him in jail. And I'm really looking forward to reading the outcome of this, learning about the outcome of this decision of this event that took place, and how James is going to deal with it if he should. And he talks about how um, jail changes a person now, and how he really doesn't want to go because it's going to change him too much, and he won't be able to deal with that, especially in a max security. That's where the Ohio, um, that's where Ohio wants to keep him in a max security state prison. And so yeah, that's pretty much my summary and my reactions to the major events. I think the most significant events in this reading. Hopefully, you guys feel the same way as I do in this, because I know it's definitely pretty sad most of the book. Yeah, I'll see you guys later.